Well, good morning. I'm so delighted to welcome all of you to Stanford and to the Stanford Global Energy Forum. Over the next 2 days, industry leaders, policymakers, scientists, energy experts, and problem solvers from across sectors and around the world will come together to discuss the forces that are shaping global energy systems and the implications of these dynamics over the coming decades. I believe that cross-sector and cross-border dialogue are essential to addressing our energy challenges and to making progress as we work to diversify our energy sources, to reduce carbon emissions, to ensure energy security, and to encourage economic growth as we transform our energy systems. All of us have a role to play, and so I'm so delighted that we have so many leading experts from so many different sectors joining us for this very important conversation. I remember very vividly the inaugural Global Energy Forum here in 2018. At that forum, Arun Majumdar, who at the time was co-director of the Stanford Precourt Institute for Energy, gave what was to me such an inspiring talk on energy transformation and what's at stake for our world. He described the paradigm shifts that were disrupting the energy sector simultaneously and at unprecedented speed. And he said, and I quote, "We all stand at the threshold of a major energy transformation at a colossal scale. This transformation will shape the economy, the environment, and the international security and geopolitics of the 21st century. Every nation, region, business, and industry ought to pay close attention to this because it will affect everyone." And he then proceeded to issue a call for innovation, a call for experimentation, a call for risk-taking that could lead to a new, better, and cheaper energy world and energy solutions. The themes that he developed that day and that others at the forum developed were vitally important. And here at Stanford, we took them to heart as we moved forward on our own plans for contributing to a more sustainable future. At the university, we've approached sustainability in two ways. First, through our own operations. We've established a goal to achieve zero waste by 2030, and we've reduced greenhouse gas emissions nearly 80% from peak levels in 2011. So over the last 11 years, we've reduced our carbon emissions by 80%. As part of this work, we brought the university's second solar plant online this past March. This plant allowed us to achieve the important sustainability milestone of producing enough renewable electricity to exceed what our main campus consumes. But as we worked to make our own operations greener, we've also taken on this problem in a second way, with, I believe, the potential for far greater impact. In September of this year, on September 1st, we launched the Stanford Doerr School of Sustainability, a new academic structure within the university that organizes and amplifies our work around climate and sustainability. The new school is led by none other than inaugural Dean Arun Majumdar, whose words from this forum I quoted just a moment ago. The school, as many of you know, focuses on three broad areas: Earth, climate, and society. It's been designed for maximum impact with a three-part structure of traditional academic departments ranging from the natural sciences through engineering to the social sciences and policy, interdisciplinary institutes that cut across all of those fields, as well as a sustainability accelerator which connects researchers with funding, infrastructure, technological resources, and external partners to design and scale solutions for broader impact. Through this new school, our faculty members will educate generations of leaders, of problem solvers, of young people who are committed to setting our world on a better path. Those students will be trained by the very best scholars and researchers in sustainability, working on everything from clean energy technologies to the effects of climate change on biodiversity and on human health, to infrastructure resilience, and much more. Through this new school, we're working to ensure that we leave a thriving and resilient planet for the generations that follow us. And we're creating a model for how research universities can address this issue, one that we hope will be useful to other institutions as well. The interlinked challenges of tackling climate change and providing clean, reliable energy on a global scale are, to my mind, defining issues of the 21st century. With so much at stake, it's natural that there are many perspectives on these issues and how we should move forward. We welcome and acknowledge all voices on these issues, and I'm grateful that many perspectives are reflected in today's program. So I want to thank you all of you who are presenting over the next 2 days, and to all who participated in the Energy Innovation Day yesterday as well. I also want to thank the Stanford Precourt Institute for Energy for hosting this forum and for its leadership in this area. The Precourt Institute, as I expect most of you know, brings together thought leaders from across our university and around the world to harness the collective knowledge of experts to foster new discoveries in energy. Finally, I want to thank our sponsors who are listed on the conference app. We're deeply grateful for your support. And again, I want to thank all of you as leaders in our global energy ecosystem for being here today for these important conversations. So thank you. And now, please welcome Yi Shui, Director of Stanford's Precourt Institute for Energy. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. It's great to have current president of Stanford and also previous president of Stanford put the top priority onto energy and sustainability. So yesterday, some of you were here for the Stanford Energy Innovation Day. We had a very strong dose. That was absolutely fantastic. I will expect to see today and tomorrow. Program continues to go very, very strong with everybody's participation. I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes to introduce Stanford Energy to you, led by a Precourt Institute for Energy. Precourt Institute was established about a decade ago through general gift of J. Precourt, general gift of Tom Steyer, setting up Tomcat Center as part of Precourt Institute, under the leadership of Lino, Sally Benson, and Arun. So together, the GCEP, Global Climate Energy Project time, over 20 years now, Stanford has established a very powerful ecosystem to tackle energy transition problem. So this vision still holds very nicely. I've been doing the director job for nearly 2 years. As the days go by, this sustainable, affordable, secure energy for all resonates with me stronger and stronger. The recent event, geopolitical event globally, really indicate how important the secure transition will be. So we need to pay very close attention to. And globally, with the commitment of net zero from many countries and Fortune 500 companies, a big portion of that to certain climate goals, this present Stanford Energy and also researchers globally to invent, to innovate, to help this global transition. If you look at where the CO2, the carbon come from, so in my talk, I will just focus on carbon for now. And in 20 minutes, we are going to hear from Dean Arun Majumdar about the broader issue of sustainability. We can have a lot more discussion later in the program. So carbon comes from transportation, electricity sector, industry, building, agriculture. And at Precourt Institute right here, we are trying to organize our intellectual capitals to mirror into what type of research we would like to do to directly address the carbon emission problem. So over the past 20 years since GCEP time until now, Stanford now has formed this ecosystem. The vertical columns are those initiatives and centers related to science, engineering, and technology. We feel they're so important, directly address where the carbon coming from. So if you look at all the way to the left, that's our Beats and Watts initiative, started about 5 years ago. Storage X, natural gas, hydrogen, we have launched these initiatives. We're in the process of planning the sustainable manufacturing and also carbon removal. At the same time, we have been working very closely, the whole ecosystem with Department of Energy, having 2 research centers, the SunCat and SIMES, to provide fundamental knowledge for us to go after important energy problem. Horizontal cross-cutting are also very important. Sustainable finance, policy, education, using big data, AI for the integration of energy system, technology translation, external communication, and the global engagement. So this is the ecosystem we built up to really handle the challenges we are facing. We have 300 faculty members, over 1,000 graduate students working on energy. But let's look back a little bit and say, hey, in the past couple decades, what has been working well in the clean energy space to scale? Are there examples we can learn about from the past? So I listed 4 right here. So the top is the clean electricity generation. The learning curve of solar industry, from the very high cost until nowadays you see 1 to 3 cents per kilowatt hour. That's something highly scalable. I think we have a lot to learn about silicon PV. How do we get from about 15 years ago such high price? If some of you remember the Sunshot program, the prediction of Sunshot, this matches quite well, actually even faster than the Sunshot's prediction. Long distance transmissions line, LED, now lithium-ion batteries for electrical transportation. Certainly lithium-ion batteries for electrical car has taken off. We still need to do a lot to go to the scale of decarbonized ground transportation. But these are the great examples we have learned. As the director of Precourt Institute, throughout the last 2 years of learning, I was asking myself, what's still needed at Stanford and also globally? I list my top 10. By the way, I have bias right here, so you can take it or not to take it, that's fine. I have bias as well. So we need to have long-duration energy storage to work out. This is critical to integrate solar and wind electricity and other renewables into the electrical grid. We need very high energy density batteries and even low cost that can help decarbonize aviation. Carbon removal technology, including direct air capture, renewable fuels, including hydrogen. And we need to digitize the energy system. Indeed, we do need to digitize the whole Earth to build this very interconnected system using AI for us to help planning what we should do globally. Low carbon steel, low carbon cement, reinvent plastics, and nuclear. We don't have a whole lot here at Stanford on nuclear, but this is a still very, very important topic. So, I forget to remember the farming and nuclear. And at Stanford right here, in order to do the research relevant, we have established this ecosystem. Our industry members are critical to us. I would like to thank all our industry partners over the years, not only supporting Stanford research, but also provide a lot of feedback. You bring the critical problems for us to look at that's relevant. And this partnership for the past 20 years have made us see the power of academia industry collaboration. So let me now share with you, we now need to put our great ideas into action. We got to organize and help our faculties and students to go fast to tackle the problems. How do we do that? And in the past, we established the Precourt Institute seed fund mechanism for faculties to have the best ideas coming from everywhere of the campus to propose. And recently, we established a new mechanism to add in called Precourt Pioneering Project. we recognize strategically there are many important areas we don't have people to work on. We have to put in the right type of proposal call, encourage our faculty to move into those directions. So this built our team of faculty very fast to tackle the problems. And going further, we have our strategic energy research consortium to grow this even bigger, eventually turn into an initiative at Stanford. We have critical mass. We are really understand the problem deeper. We have some solution already, seems to be working out, eventually establish a center. Through this whole set of tools at Precourt Institute, we want to encourage the scientific and technology breakthrough to solve the problems for energy transition. So now let me highlight, since last year, after launching the Precourt Pioneering Project, we have issued 5 proposal calls to target in the area we think that's so important, but we are still lacking at Stanford. The response has been tremendous. And not only Precourt, we also team up with other units at Stanford. And through the last 2 years experiment, we see this mechanism is the one we would like to continue further. So let me also emphasize our student education. Stanford is organized in a way with the schools, with department. These are the academia unit carry the heavy load of education. But at the same time, we see for a problem like energy, we need to have a cross-cutting, bring in intellectual capitals from around the campus to solve the energy problem. And then just certain education opportunity, usually not carried by the department or school. That's something we can fill in. For example, our students coming in, the new graduate students, we offer the energy at Stanford and Slack program. And this year, we have this about 125 students sign up from many schools on campus. It's so impressive to see there's a significant number of students from business school. This mingling between science, engineering, economics, policy, business is so important to come up with a solution to address the energy problem. And also, this year, we just launched our Explore Energy House. This is undergraduate dorm, right? There are about 90 students also living in the dorm. We have Holmes Homo as the residence fellow. And this is the place, interact with undergraduate closely. That might also be the place some of the real demonstration can be done in the dormitory. And let me also share with you, and it's widely recognized by faculty and our students, our postdocs. And Stanford already have very powerful Stanford Graduate Fellowship. And what's lacking is this powerful energy postdoc fellow program. So after discussion with broadly with faculty, this year we just launched our Stanford Energy Postdoc Fellow program. By the way, the application deadline was 2 days ago. This requires 2 faculty members to nominate 1 postdoc candidate pre-selection. And after we issue this call outside, from many faculties, I get the feedback, this huge number of young talents applying to Stanford as postdoc. That number increased dramatically. So after the GF, we'll be busy and screen the candidate. The first set of fellows we're going to award will be about 10. So they will be supported for 3 years, serving as connecting tissue, reaching out to every corner of the campus, and bring the best expertise together to address the energy challenge. So let me also mention, from labs to market, there's a very strong interest from students to learn about entrepreneurship. So over the years at Precourt, we have our Stanford Climate Venture class that's so popular. Taught by David Danielson, Jim Woodward, and others. And these have helping the student launch multiple companies. Not only that, it's a Tomcat Innovation, our Tomcat Center, the Tomcat Innovation Transfer Program. So this has been funded about 100 teams by now. And about $5 million putting it in now, resulting in about $1.5 billion follow-on investment. So this has launched many companies. Some of you met yesterday. And this whole ecosystem, from research, from starting up company, has flowed quite nicely at the Stanford Energy System. So I would like to also emphasize we offer this internship outside, whether it's for people to students learn about entrepreneurship or going into a California government office to serve as the policy internship. So we offer quite a number of opportunities. Particularly, let me emphasize our short energy fellows. These are amazing, a list of young fellows from Stanford going out to different government agencies to serve. So at the end, let me share with you, and like today's event, Global Energy Forum, we recognize and engaging globally is so important. We have a whole list of activity over the years building it up. From the top, Stanford Global Energy Forum is absolutely highlight. We also have our Stanford Energy Innovation Day that was yesterday. We have our Stanford Energy Solutions Week. The first time we held it in May this year, very successfully, focused on technology. And we have been also holding US, India, US, China, US, Korea. We want to expand this more to other countries as we have the roundtable discussion on how do we address the energy and climate challenge. This has been very successful. We need to learn about what other countries has been doing and what we can do together to address the climate challenges. And also the C3E initiative event. And this is to highlight women and the energy. It actually happened today, not here in Palo Alto. And the other side of the country, this is a team between Department of Energy, MIT, Stanford, and Texas A&M. So this is happening at the same time. And certainly our Global Energy Heroes program. Let me probably quickly jump through the slide and say, hey, today and tomorrow, we have very exciting speakers, panelists, and having a deep discussion about important topic of energy. I would like you to enjoy and participate. Pretty soon, I will invite our Dean, Arun Majumdar, to come up with this new school launch in September. Now, Precourt Institute is part of New School, yet maintaining cross-cutting functions throughout the whole university. So Arun will present to you much broader issue of sustainability, how the New School will address those challenges. Let me end my presentation by thanking our sponsors of Global Energy Forum. And thank you very much. Now next, let me invite our Dean, Arun Majumdar, from the Doerr School of Sustainability to the stage.
As you heard, the last time we had this was in 2018. That was the first time we had the Stanford Global Energy Forum. And that was built upon the Vail Global Energy Forum with Jay Precourt, who's right here, was the architect for that and the founder. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank Jay for launching the whole effort, and then we are bringing it to Stanford. We brought it to Stanford. So thank you, Jay. So while the slides are getting fixed and all that, it's, just to remark what happened. In 2018, when we launched it, it was terrific. We all it was a big event. And then, of course, we were planning to do this in 2020. And then COVID hit, and we thought that, okay, we'll get over this in a few months, and we will have it in 2020. And we all thought it'll be just a matter of few months. But that didn't, of course, happen. And here we are in 2022 as the next one. But during this time, there was something else happening on campus. And as you heard Marc Tessier-Lavigne talk about, there was a momentum that was building. And the momentum was about, we got to do something big in the area of energy, climate, water, food, biodiversity, ecology, public health. There's public health at that time. And that led to this whole effort on sustainability. And so let's see if the slides are ready. Let me take a quick poll. How many people international out here? Just a raise of hands. Fantastic. Welcome to the United States of America. How many from outside California, but not international? Oh, that is terrific. We are in the post-COVID world. Not that COVID has gone away, but clearly it's a different world. Let me just, while the slides are being developed, I want to talk about why we are doing this. Why is Stanford going big into sustainability? And I would say, if you look at, which my slides have, and I will go through it quickly just to catch up on time, but let me just give you the preview. It took 1 million years for the human population to go from 0 human beings to 300 million. It took 1 million years. We have it now. Great. That was my second slide. It took 1 million years to go from 0 to 300 million people in this world. And now it takes 13 years to go to 1 billion. Okay? The growth of human population is not an exponential, it's a super exponential. It is supposed to saturate. There's some uncertainty out there. And by 2100, we are supposed to have 11 billion people in this world. The uncertainty is 1 billion, just so you know, 3 times the US population. And this is what I call the human tsunami. No one, the Earth, had never seen a growth of human population of this kind. Okay? Just to reflect on this, this is new. This is unprecedented in the history of the Earth. While there's a human tsunami, there are a few other things that have transpired on Earth. There is what I call the human consumption tsunami. The outside, the bigger chart, is the per capita GDP. It has gone up exponentially. And that's a good thing. We are living a quality of life that we never enjoyed before, our ancestors never enjoyed. But the per capita GDP, that is we take that as a measure of our quality of human life or prosperity. It's not all about human welfare, but nevertheless, it has gone up. And if you take the product of the per capita GDP and the population tsunami, you get the total GDP, which is an ultra exponential. Okay, that's where we are. And this is a good thing. And I'm talking about GDP as a production, but obviously there's some consumption. Otherwise, why would anyone produce anything? And to produce these things, the goods and services, you needed energy. And so I'm just plotting the last 200 years in energy, not even thousands of years. And that has gone up exponentially. And I'm plotting there with these arrows of just my family's generation. I was born in the 1960s, my kids were born in the 1990s, my parents were born in the 1920s and 30s, and my grandparents were born at late 1800s and early 1900s. In 4 generations, it has completely changed the energy scene, and 80% of our energy comes from fossil sources. Okay, that's where we are. And that led to the quality of human life that has improved exponentially, et cetera. And of course, when we consume these things and consume the energy from fossil, you're bound to get a global CO2 tsunami. And you can take the same argument and go to a plastic tsunami, a water tsunami, et cetera. So that's the trend that we are on. And I just want to highlight, some of this is a good thing. We are enjoying the quality of life that our ancestors never enjoyed. We are watching TV with Usain Bolt running, and our human life expectancy has gone up more than doubled. We have healthcare that we never had before, and high-speed travel that we never had before. So these are good things, but we have disturbed the balance of nature. So, just like those of you who were there last time, I offered a quiz. I'm going to offer the same quiz this time. You have 2 numbers out here, 1 degrees. This is the average temperature, global average temperature rise from the pre-industrial level. It's about 1.2, but let's make it a whole number 1. And the second is the 2 degrees Celsius, which is the Paris Agreement. It was supposed to be 1.5, and said, okay, let's try to keep it below 2. And so I'm going to throw you a few other numbers. I hope you remember from 4 years ago. The next number is 800. It's not 800 degrees Celsius. We're not living on Venus. If we are to keep the temperature below 2 degrees Celsius, the world has an energy budget of 800 gigatons of CO2. The next number is 40. This is the rate of emissions. It's actually more than 40, but let's just make it even. 40 gigatons of CO2 per year, and the last number is 20. We got 20 years. So this next decade and the next 2 decades are the most consequential decades we have to address this issue. Because if we don't, this is what happens. This is data. This is not even climate model predictions. This is data from NASA on the summer temperatures. Some summers are hotter, some summers are cooler, and these are now the trend. This is just the data and the direction of the data. And it is not the average that matters, it is the tail of the distribution that really matters. It's like saying, I can have my head in the freezer and my legs in the oven, and my average is fine. Right? But the tail gets you. The tail wags the dog out here. And it's the tail of the distribution that really matters. And the tail is creating some havoc. And we got to address it. So what has the world done? Well, there are some national commitments. All major countries have made a commitment with dates on it. Okay? And they're, as he pointed out, more than 50%, about 60% of the Fortune 500 companies have made climate commitments. The total annual in aggregate revenue is $20 trillion, which is the US GDP. This is big. This has happened. And now you ask the question, do we know how to get there? Do all the countries know how to get there? Do the corporations know? And the answer is not really. They're trying to figure it out. I call it, the equivalent of this is like marriage. Marriage requires a commitment. We all made a commitment. But the details sometimes need to be worked out. And that is what is going on right now. And this is corporate commitments, national, top-down. But you look at the bottom up. The consumer demand is at a tipping point. This is some data from Google searches on sustainable products. And it's not exponentially going up just in the United States. It's going up globally. And the 77% of the consumers are willing to pay a little bit extra for brands that offer clean products. And this is Gen X, Millennials, Gen Zs. I don't know how many alphabets are there, but this is the youth. That's where they're going. And we have to pay attention. So how do we address this problem? Well, the architecture of the problem is known and what we need to do. How to actually doing it, it's not trivial. This is what we need to do. If you are to keep the global average temperature rise below 2 degrees, the green section is the mitigation part. We have to mitigate tens of gigatons of CO2 per year. But that's not going to be enough. The blue at the bottom is the negative emissions, and that's on the order of 10 gigatons of CO2 per year. Okay? If he can do both, it's not a question of either or. Sometimes they fall in the fallacy of or, this or that. No, this is the question of and now. You've got to do and the negative emissions of 10 gigatons of CO2 per year. So we are throwing around this gigatons as if it's, just numbers. Let me give you a comparison of what that means. What is the total weight of all 8 billion human beings on Earth? If anyone has done the numbers, let me give you the answer. This was the second quiz. The answer is half a gigaton. Okay? And we're talking about tens of gigatons of CO2 per year. Just the scale of this. We need new industries to be born of the scale of the current massive industries. And here's a theorem that I would propose. Whatever 10 billion people consume will produce gigaton scale impact. Electricity, heating, cooling, transportation, food, textile, water, steel, cement, information that's going up exponentially. That's the world we're in. We have to address issues of emissions and climate change and waste, et cetera. But we cannot, and there's an urgency to this, but we cannot ignore the fact that there are security issues at play as well. And we're seeing it being played out and weaponized in Europe today. And so we have to address both the energy security, which is related to economic security, and we have climate security simultaneously. That's the equation, simultaneous equation we have to solve. We cannot only go for climate and ignore the national security issues that are going on. And if we address only the national security issues, we will miss out on the climate part. And the real question is, how do we do that together? How do we collectively and jointly do that and address all three of them simultaneously? We need innovation. And so what are the breakthroughs that have happened to create entirely new industries, and what else do we need? You heard from E about this. Unconventional gas. That has changed the ball game, reduced the emissions, if we can figure out how to reduce the leaks, and that has gotten us away from coal. Renewable electricity, as you heard, this is solar and wind, the cheapest way to produce electricity today. And you heard about batteries, and this is going to be, at some point, this is cost competitive and range competitive with gasoline cars. And of course, LED lighting. But if you think that's going to solve climate change, think again. We need much more. You need much more than batteries and solar and wind. You need nuclear, you need refrigerants that are zero global warming potential, energy efficiency, hydrogen for decarbonizing the industrial heat sector, which is extremely difficult, and we got to decarbonize food and agriculture, which globally is 25%, 24% of the emissions. And of course, we need a massive gigaton scale carbon management of direct air capture or negative emissions and carbon capture sequestration. I'm just talking about the energy part. But this is more than just energy. The energy is clearly important, but what happens in energy affects water, as we know in California. What goes on in water affects agriculture, that affects biodiversity, that affects ecology and global health. These are all interrelated. They cannot be separate, and climate change affects all of them. That is the issue of sustainability. And so looking at this problem, this is arguably the defining challenge of the 21st century. Stanford decided to go big. And going big is launching the first school in 75 years and to also use this as an opportunity to reimagine academia. Because these issues cannot be isolated and separated into an engineering problem, or a business problem, or a law problem, or a science problem, or a social science problem. They're all interrelated. Sustainability spans the whole campus. So why did we decide to do a school? Well, because if you have a school, there's some focus. But it had to be a different kind of school. And so this is the best way to describe a three-legged stool. One leg are departments. This is where we hire faculty, admit students, grant degrees, create curricula, have curiosity-driven research, and we have many departments now. We've just launched a new department of oceans. We think oceans are important. The second leg, as you heard, are the institute. This is where interdisciplinary communities use inspired research, proof of concept, solutions, and external stakeholder engagement, as we're doing today. And we have the Woods Institute for the Environment, Precourt Institute for Energy, and we are going to launch a new institute for sustainable societies to look at issues of governance, of environmental justice, of urbanization, et cetera. And finally, we have the accelerator. And this is about impact. Impact at speed and scale, to use John Doerr's words. This is to nurture and launch scalable solutions, platform for global engagement, and a sustainability academy for ecopreneurship and for mobilization. Now, you heard a little bit from E about the fact that we're not starting from scratch out here. We got the Innovation Transfer Program. You heard the numbers. This is the things that have happened out of the Innovation Transfer Program. But we think this is not enough. We need to do more given the urgency and magnitude and scale of the problem. So the accelerator is a new thing. We need partners. We cannot do this alone. So we will be, like you are, part of our global network. That's why the international part is so important. We are forming and we're going to build on the current global network of partners, and just listening to the partners is very important for us to understand what the real issues are so that we can solve and co-create, co-develop solutions with our partners. And that requires understanding of scale beyond Stanford. Otherwise, we may be solving the wrong problem. And so this requires some training, some mentoring, some filtering of the current funded projects. And these need not be only commercial businesses. This could be policies. This could be a digital platform that could be shared. And this could be a part of nonprofits that we could launch from here. That's the blue line of the train of the subway system. The green line is about education. We are an educational institution. And as the world tries to navigate from where we are today to your net zero commitments in the future, we feel that there could be a demand for education of how to navigate this path. And that's a sustainability academy, or decision making. Because at the end of the day, the policymakers, the business, folks from the business and all, they're all making decisions. And to understand how to make the decisions and what the implications of the decisions are critically important, because we are living in the unintended consequences of the decisions made in the 20th century, and we cannot repeat that again. Let me end with all the disruptions and everything in between. Thank you for your patience for that. Just to use an indigenous proverb that is painted on the walls of my office, that reframes what we are trying to do. We do not inherit this earth from our ancestors. That's the wrong way to think about it. We borrow it from our children. And it is for the sake of our children and grandchildren who could be swept away in the tsunamis that I talked about that we have to take care of this urgently. Thank you very much, and I really appreciate your patience.